My golden child sister sabotaged my wedding and now my parents want me to apologize. Okay, Reddit, I don't even know where to start with this, but I need to get it out before I spontaneously combust or start screaming in the middle of the grocery store. My wedding was supposed to be in 3 weeks. Was. Now, it's cancelled, my relationship is in ashes, and my family is basically acting like I'm the problem because I refuse to just rug sweep the fact that my sister, the family saint, deliberately blew up my life, possibly with my fiancé's help. And the cherry on top? My parents think I owe her an apology for making things difficult. Yeah, you read that right. Strap in, because this is a long, ugly story, and honestly, I'm still trying to figure out how this became my reality. It all started, or maybe just detonated, about a month ago. My sister, Olivia, Livy, as mom insists on calling her, like she's still 5, offered to help with some of the final wedding logistics. I know, red flag right there, but hear me out. Livy has always been the responsible one, the organized one, the one who gets faint praise heaped on her for breathing correctly, while I was always the creative but scattered one, the too sensitive one, the one who had to fight for every scrap of recognition. She presented it as this grand gesture. Being maid of honor wasn't enough, she wanted to really help take the stress off me. Mark, my fiancé, well, ex-fiancé now, God that hurts to type, thought it was great. See, Chloe, he'd said, squeezing my hand, Livy really cares. Give her a chance. Mark always saw the best in people, which I used to think was endearing. Now I see it as tragically naive, or maybe something worse. Anyway, I was drowning in seating charts and vendor confirmations, working full-time, and honestly, the idea of delegating felt like a lifeline. So, against my better judgment, born from years of subtle competitions and feeling perpetually second best, I let her help with a few key things, confirming the final payment and details with the reception venue, coordinating the delivery times for the cake and flowers, and handling the RSVPs that trickled in late. Simple tasks, right? Things that would be genuinely helpful. What could possibly go wrong? Oh, sweet summer child I was. The first crack appeared about 2 weeks later. I got a call from the venue manager, Melissa. She sounded confused. Hi Chloe, just following up on our conversation from yesterday? I'm still a bit unclear about the cancellation. My blood ran cold. Cancellation? What cancellation? Melissa, we talked last week, everything was confirmed. She hesitated. Well, yes, but then your sister, Olivia, called yesterday. She said there were significant family issues, serious ones, and that the wedding was indefinitely postponed, likely cancelled. She instructed us to release the date and said you were too distraught to call yourself, that she was handling everything. I felt the floor drop out from under me. She what? Melissa, that's absolutely not true. The wedding is happening. My voice was shaking. Melissa sounded flustered now. Oh my God, Chloe, I am so sorry. She sounded so convincing, so concerned for you. She mentioned something about a family emergency, a health crisis. We've already booked another event for that date. We had someone on the wait list. I sank onto my couch, the phone feeling like lead in my hand. My dream venue. Booked a year and a half in advance. Gone. Just like that. Because of a lie my sister told. I immediately called Olivia. Straight to voicemail. I texted her, call me now. What did you tell the venue? No reply. I tried Mark. He answered, sounding breezy. Hey babe, what's up? I could barely speak through the rage and panic. Mark, Olivia canceled the venue. She called them, lied about a family emergency, and told them the wedding was off. They gave away our date. There was a pause. A pause that felt just a fraction too long. What? No, that can't be right, Chloe. Are you sure? Maybe it was a misunderstanding? You know how Livy gets flustered sometimes. Flustered? This wasn't flustered, this was calculated sabotage. Mark, the manager, was crystal clear. Olivia instructed them to cancel. Why would she do that? He made some soothing noises, said he'd call Olivia himself, that we'd sort it out. But something in his voice felt off. Not surprised enough. Not angry enough on my behalf. Just placating. When Olivia finally surfaced hours later, it wasn't with a call, but a text message to a group chat with me, Mark, and our parents. So sorry everyone, huge misunderstanding with the venue. They must have gotten confused. I was just asking some questions about contingency plans in case of bad weather, and they totally misinterpreted. Trying to sort it now. Don't worry Chloe. It was so blatantly false, so dismissive of the bomb she'd just dropped, that I felt dizzy. I replied instantly, That's bullshit, Olivia. Melissa at the venue told me exactly what you said. You lied. Why would you do that? My parents jumped in immediately. Mom, Chloe, language. Olivia said it was a misunderstanding. Let her sort it out. Don't jump to conclusions. Dad, easy now, girls. Let's figure this out calmly. Weddings are stressful. Calmly? Figure it out? My sister had just potentially torpedoed my entire wedding, lied about a family crisis, and they were telling me to calm down? Mark texted me privately, let's talk tonight. Don't escalate with your family. Again, that strange lack of outrage. That focus on avoiding conflict rather than addressing the massive betrayal. The knot in my stomach tightened. This wasn't just about Olivia anymore. That night was illuminating, in the worst possible way. Mark came over to my apartment. He looked stressed, but not angry for me. He kept pacing, running his hands through his hair. Okay, look, he started, avoiding my eyes. I talked to Livy. She feels absolutely terrible. She says she panicked. I just stared at him. Panicked? Mark, people panic and forget to pick up milk. They don't call a venue days before a wedding, invent a family health crisis, and cancel the whole damn thing. That's sabotage. He finally looked at me, and his expression was pleading. Chloe, she said she was worried about us. About me. I felt a chill despite the anger burning in my chest. Worried? What does Olivia have to do with us? He sighed, sinking onto the armchair opposite me. She pulled me aside a few weeks ago. Said she was concerned I wasn't happy. That I seemed distant. That maybe I was having second thoughts and didn't know how to tell you. My breath hitched. She said what? And you listened? Mark looked miserable. I mean, I told her she was wrong, obviously. But she kept bringing it up. Planting seeds, I guess. Saying maybe this whole thing was moving too fast, that maybe you and I weren't as compatible as we thought. He looked up, his eyes wide. Chloe, I love you. I do. But wedding planning has been stressful. We've argued more lately. Livy. She just tapped into those little anxieties, I guess. Made them seem bigger. I felt sick. My own sister had been actively undermining my relationship with my fiancé, whispering poison in his ear. And he hadn't shut it down immediately. He'd listened. So, I said, my voice dangerously quiet. When she called the venue. Did you know? He flinched. No. Not exactly. Not that she was going to cancel it, he stammered. She mentioned to me she was worried the venue wasn't right, that maybe it was a sign we should postpone. She asked me, hypothetically, if a delay might be a relief. And I might have hesitated. I might have said something like, maybe a little breathing room wouldn't hurt, but just because the stress was getting to me. I didn't think she'd actually do something. Breathing room. He wanted breathing room from our wedding. Because my sister suggested it. My sister, who had always been jealous of anything good that happened to me. My sister, who threw a literal tantrum when I got engaged before her, even though she wasn't even dating anyone seriously. My sister, who my parents constantly compared me to, always finding me lacking. It all clicked into place with horrifying clarity. Olivia hadn't just panicked. She saw an opening, a flicker of doubt she had cultivated herself, and she drove a wedge into it. And Mark had let her. He hadn't just been naive, he'd been weak, susceptible to her manipulation because maybe, deep down, a part of him was having second thoughts she could exploit. Get out, I whispered. Mark looked shocked. Chloe, what? No, we can fix this, we can find another venue. Or postpone. We just need to talk. No, I said, louder this time, finding my voice. There's nothing to fix. She played you, Mark. She tried to sabotage my wedding, my relationship, because she couldn't stand to see me happy. And you let her plant those seeds. You hesitated. You wanted breathing room. You didn't defend me, you didn't defend us, when she started her campaign. Get out of my apartment. He tried to argue, to plead, but I just stood there, numb and resolute. The trust was gone. Shattered. Not just by Olivia's malice, but by Mark's weakness and his implicit complicity. He eventually left, leaving me standing alone in the middle of my living room, surrounded by wedding planning debris that now felt like artifacts from another life. The next day, the family storm hit full force. My parents called, demanding I come over immediately. I considered refusing, but I knew they'd just show up at my door. I drove to their house, the house I grew up in, feeling like I was walking into an ambush. And I was right. Olivia was there, sitting on the couch between Mom and Dad, looking pale and teary-eyed. Mark was not there, which was a small mercy, I guess. As soon as I walked in, Mom started. "Chloe, thank God you're here. We need to sort this mess out. Olivia feels absolutely dreadful." Olivia sniffled on cue. "I'm so sorry, Chloe. It was a terrible mistake. I completely misunderstood the venue people, and I panicked when I thought I'd messed things up financially. I got confused about the payment schedule. It was a completely different lie from the text message excuse, and different again from what she'd told Mark. She couldn't even keep her story straight." "Stop it, Olivia," I said, my voice flat. "Just stop lying. I know you called them. I know you told them the wedding was off because of a fake family emergency. And I know," I added, leveling my gaze at her, "that you've been trying to manipulate Mark, telling him he wasn't happy, trying to break us up." Olivia gasped dramatically, clutching her chest. "Chloe, how could you say such horrible things? I would never." Dad jumped in, his face stern. "Chloe, that's enough. Your sister made a mistake, a big one, yes. But these accusations are getting out of hand. You're overwrought." "Overwrought?" I felt eerily calm, fueled by a cold fury. "Am I? Ask her, Dad. Ask her why she told Mark I wasn't right for him. Ask her why she invented a health crisis to cancel my venue." Olivia burst into tears. Not real tears, I could tell. The performative kind she always used to get her way. "I was just trying to help," she sobbed into Mom's shoulder. Mom glared at me over Olivia's shaking head. "Look what you've done. She's fragile, Chloe. You know she gets overwhelmed easily. This wedding stress has been hard on all of us, especially her, trying so hard to support you." Fragile. Overwhelmed, the same excuses they'd used my entire life to justify Olivia's behavior. When she accidentally broke my favorite necklace at age 10. When she forgot to pass on a message about a scholarship interview in high school. When she conveniently developed a mysterious illness right before my graduation party, making the whole event about her recovery. She wasn't fragile, she was a master manipulator, and my parents were her willing enablers. "Fragile?" I repeated, incredulous. "She deliberately sabotaged my wedding. She meddled in my relationship. And you're worried about her feelings?" Dad slammed his hand on the coffee table, making us all jump. "Enough. This stops now. Olivia made a mistake. Mark clearly overreacted or misunderstood whatever she said. The venue situation is unfortunate, but we can find another one, maybe a smaller wedding later on. The important thing is family. We forgive each other. We move on. Olivia has apologized." I stared at him. "She hasn't apologized for what she actually did. She's apologized for getting caught and fed you a pack of lies you're willing to swallow because it's easier than confronting the truth about your precious Livy." Olivia wailed louder. Mom stood up, her face tight with anger. "How dare you speak to your father like that? And your sister? After everything she's done for you?" I laughed, a harsh, brittle sound. "What has she done for me? Besides make my life harder at every turn? Compete with me? Undermine me? Is that what you call support?" Mom's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "She loves you, Chloe. Deep down. She's just insecure sometimes. And frankly, your attitude isn't helping. You need to be the bigger person here. Apologize to your sister for these wild accusations and hurting her feelings, accept her apology for the venue mix-up, and let's figure out how to salvage this wedding in our family." Apologize. To her. For her sabotage. I felt like I'd stepped through the looking glass into a world where up was down and black was white. "No," I said, my voice shaking but firm. "I will not apologize for telling the truth. And there's no wedding to salvage. I told Mark to leave last night. It's over." The silence that followed was deafening. Olivia stopped crying instantly, her eyes wide. Mom looked horrified. Dad just looked tired. "Over?" Mom whispered. "You threw away your marriage because of a misunderstanding?" "It wasn't a misunderstanding, Mom." I almost shouted. It was a betrayal. By Olivia, and by Mark for letting her toxicity poison us. He admitted she'd been planting seeds, that he'd hesitated when she suggested postponing. He failed the most basic test of loyalty. "And you expect me to marry him after that? You expect me to ever trust her again?" Dad sighed heavily. "Chloe, relationships face challenges. You don't just throw them away at the first hurdle. Mark seems like a good man, maybe he just stumbled." "He didn't stumble, Dad," I said wearily. "He let my sister push him. And now, you want me to pretend none of this happened? To stand up at a wedding, maybe a rescheduled 1 month from now, with her as my maid of honor, knowing she tried to destroy it all? Knowing you knew, and you pressured me to forgive her without any real accountability? How could I possibly do that? Olivia chose that moment to speak, her voice laced with faux sympathy. Chloe, I know you're hurting. But breaking up with Mark. Isn't that a bit extreme? He loves you. Maybe we can all go to therapy together? Family counseling? Therapy. With her. The arsonist offering to help rebuild the house she burned down. The sheer audacity took my breath away. Olivia, I said, keeping my voice level with monumental effort. The only therapy you need is individual, to figure out why you feel the need to sabotage your own sister's happiness. And Mom, Dad, you need to figure out why you enable her. As for me, I need space. Lots of it. From all of you. I turned to leave, my hands trembling. Mom called after me, Chloe, don't walk away like this. Think about what you're doing. You're tearing this family apart. I stopped at the door, turning back to face them, my perfect sister nestled between my enabling parents. No, Mom, I said softly, the realization hitting me with the force of a physical blow. I'm not tearing it apart. It was already broken. I'm just the first one willing to admit it. And then I walked out, leaving the shattered pieces of my old life behind me in that suffocating living room. The weeks since then have been a blur of logistics and emotional fallout. Canceling vendors, explaining to confused friends and relatives, without descending into a she said mudslinging match, which was harder than it sounds, fielding calls from Mark, which I eventually blocked, and dealing with the flying monkeys my parents sent my way, aunts, uncles, family friends, all subtly or not so subtly suggesting I was overreacting, being unforgiving, destroying the family. Apparently, Olivia had been busy spinning her narrative. Poor, fragile Livy made a stressful mistake, and volatile, unforgiving Chloe blew it way out of proportion, cruelly dumping her loving fiancé and cutting off her heartbroken family. It was masterful, really. The victimhood was practically radiating off her social media posts, vague quotes about forgiveness and overcoming hardship, pictures of her looking wistful, captions about the importance of family no matter what. It made me sick. My best friend, Sarah, has been my rock. She was the first person I called after the venue disaster, and she listened without judgment, just quiet fury on my behalf. She never liked Olivia, always saw through the perfect sister facade, and she'd had reservations about Mark, thinking he was a bit too easily swayed by others' opinions. I hate to say I told you so, she said gently, holding my hand while I cried on her couch, but honey, this might be the most painful blessing in disguise ever. Imagine finding this out after you were married. She's right, of course. The thought of being legally tied to Mark, knowing his weakness, and permanently tethered to Olivia and my parents' toxic dynamic. It's chilling. Sarah helped me pack up the wedding gifts that had already arrived, storing them in her garage for eventual return. She helped me change my voicemail greeting so I didn't sound like I was about to burst into tears. She just showed up. Which is more than my own family did. There was one particularly nasty incident a couple of weeks ago. My Aunt Carol, Mom's sister, called me. She's always been a bit of a gossip, but usually harmless. This time, however, she was clearly relaying talking points. Chloe dear, she started, her voice dripping with faux concern. Your mother is worried sick about you. And poor Olivia is beside herself with guilt. Don't you think it's time to let bygones be bygones? This rift is hurting everyone. I took a deep breath. Aunt Carol, this wasn't just spilling juice on the carpet. Olivia deliberately sabotaged my wedding and tried to break up my relationship. That's not a bygone. She tutted. Oh, Chloe, sabotage is such a strong word. Olivia explained it was all a terrible mix-up. And Mark? Well, your mother seems to think he's heartbroken and wants you back. Are you sure you're not cutting off your nose to spite your face? I felt my temper rising. Did Mom also tell you that Mark admitted Olivia had been manipulating him for weeks? Did she mention he hesitated when Olivia suggested postponing our wedding? Or is that part conveniently left out of the poor Olivia narrative? There was a pause. Well, Aunt Carol said, flustered. Your mother mentioned Olivia was concerned. Out of love, of course. Sometimes outsiders can see things more clearly. I couldn't believe it. They were actually trying to spin Olivia's manipulation as helpful concern. Aunt Carol, I said, my voice dangerously low. If you called to tell me I should forgive my sister for deliberately trying to ruin my life, and take back a man who let her do it, then this conversation is over. I appreciate your concern, I lied, but my decisions are made. I could practically hear her relaying this back to my mother later. She's being utterly unreasonable. The narrative was setting like concrete. Chloe, the heartless villain. Olivia, the misunderstood victim. Mark, the jilted lover. And my parents, the long-suffering mediators. The hardest part, surprisingly, hasn't been mourning Mark. It hurt, yes, the betrayal cut deep. But the more distance I get, the more I see the cracks that were already there, his need for approval, his conflict avoidance, how easily he was swayed not just by Olivia, but by his parents too. The relationship likely wouldn't have lasted in the long run. No, the hardest part has been mourning the family I thought I had, or at least, the family I desperately wanted to have. Realizing that my parents' love and support were conditional, dependent on me playing my assigned role in the family drama, prioritizing Olivia's perceived needs over my own well-being. Seeing how readily they accepted her lies and blamed me for reacting to them. That's a deeper wound. A few days ago, my dad called. It was the first time we'd spoken one-on-one since the blow-up at their house. He sounded awkward, hesitant. "Chloe? Can we talk? Just for a minute?" I agreed, warily. "Look," he began, "your mother and I. We don't want this. This silence. This division. Then tell Olivia to take real responsibility for what she did, Dad. Tell Mom to stop making excuses for her. Acknowledge the truth," he sighed, that same weary sound I remembered from their living room. "It's not that simple, Chloe. Olivia. She's complicated. She gets these ideas in her head. So you know she did it deliberately?" I pressed. "You know she lied?" There was a long pause. "I think. She convinced herself she was doing the right thing. That she was protecting Mark, or maybe you. In her own twisted way. Twisted was right. But it was the closest to an admission I'd gotten. And that makes it okay? That justifies canceling my wedding and undermining my relationship?" "No," he said quietly. "No, it doesn't. But Chloe. She's still your sister. And your mother. She worries about Livy collapsing if we push her too hard." There it was again. Protecting Olivia. Always protecting Olivia. Even when she was the one wielding the knife. So I just have to suck it up? Pretend it didn't happen so Livy doesn't collapse and Mom doesn't worry? "I'm not saying that," he said quickly. "But maybe there's a middle ground? Some way to move forward?" "Dad," I said, feeling exhausted. "The only way forward for me right now is away from this dynamic. I need space to heal. I need to be around people who don't expect me to tolerate being treated like this." He didn't argue this time. He just sounded sad. "Okay, Chloe. Okay. Take your space. But the door is always open. When you're ready." It was better than denial, better than blame, but still far from the apology or accountability I deserved. Still prioritizing keeping the peace over acknowledging the harm done. So, that's where I am. Living in the wreckage. The wedding is definitely off. Mark sends occasional pleading texts from new numbers, which I ignore. I'm focusing on work, leaning hard on Sarah, and contemplating starting therapy myself, not family therapy, just me, figuring out how I let myself stay in this family dynamic for so long, why I ignored the red flags with Olivia and even Mark. Maybe part of me wanted the normal family, the fairy tale wedding, so badly that I was willing to overlook the rot underneath. Olivia, from what I hear through the grapevine, because I've muted her and my parents on social media and blocked her number, is playing the martyr beautifully. She's apparently told everyone she's giving Chloe space but is devastated by the rift. Some extended family members buy it, others seem suspicious but are too afraid of rocking the boat to say anything. Typical. The status quo, even a toxic one, is fiercely protected. I don't know what the future holds. Will I ever reconcile with my parents? Maybe, someday, if they can ever truly see Olivia's actions for what they were and stop expecting me to be the designated shock absorber for her manipulations. Will I reconcile with Olivia? Honestly, right now, I can't imagine it. The trust is annihilated. How do you come back from someone actively trying to destroy your happiness out of sheer jealousy or insecurity, or whatever dark motivation fueled her? And Mark? Well, Mark is a closed chapter. His weakness was as much a betrayal as Olivia's malice. Sometimes, late at night, the anger and hurt wash over me again. I think about the venue, the dress hanging uselessly in my closet, the life I thought I was building. Then I think about what Sarah said, the painful blessing. Maybe this explosion, as devastating as it feels right now, was necessary. Maybe it cleared away the illusions and forced me to see the truth about the people around me, and about myself. Maybe rebuilding my life on a foundation of honesty, even if it means a smaller circle, is better than living a lie within a toxic family structure. It's a long road ahead, I know. Healing isn't linear. There are days I feel strong and resolute, and days I just feel incredibly sad and lonely. But underneath it all, there's a flicker of something new, self-respect. I stood up for myself. I refused to swallow the lies. I walked away from people who hurt me, even when it was the hardest thing to do. I didn't let them gaslight me into apologizing for their bad behavior. And maybe, just maybe, that's the beginning of my own, real happy ending, one that doesn't require a wedding or my family's approval. It just requires me. So yeah, Reddit. That's the story. My golden child sister tried to ruin my life, my fiancé let her, and my parents blamed me for not pretending it was okay. I don't know if I'm looking for advice, maybe just validation that I'm not crazy for feeling this betrayed, for making the choices I did. It feels good, just getting it all out. Thanks for listening. It's been a lot. And I have a feeling it's far from over, but at least now, I'm facing it with my eyes wide open.